welcome back to the Vocal Vibe. We have our special guest here. We've got our friend Wise. Say hello, Wise. What's up?
Oh.
Hi. We've got our friend Wira.
Hello.
And MelVee. And then today we also have a very special guest, Mr. Justin Stoney from New York Vocal Coaching is here today to hang out with us, answer some awesome questions about his past, his journey, and just have a great time. So, Justin, you want to say anything before we get started? Anything interesting happened recently? Anything fun happening this week in
I
general?
know I'm excited to be here. I'm doing what I'm always doing, trying my hand at helping singers and voice teachers. And I know I'm with 3 talented voice teachers and singers here today, so glad to be in good company.
Awesome. That's so great. Cool. All right. So to get started, I just wanted to ask you, because I think we've told this story before in voice teacher training, but not everybody knows the story about how you kind of got interested in music in general, theater, singing, voice study. Like, how did that start? I know that that whole piano story with the teaching. But
Yeah, right on. Well, I started off playing the piano at the age of 7 and played, since then. And I got into choirs in middle school and high school, and that led me into some theater and musical theater. And then I also had like a rock band and really got into music and acting and theater. And then I majored in musical theater in college. I went to the University of Michigan. And then I went to New York City to pursue my professional career as a singer and actor.
Nice. What was your favorite production in musical theater as growing up? I know you said Into the Woods is one of them for sure, but were there any others that you really...
Into the Woods was my favorite because it made me want to be an actor.
Okay.
It will always be my favorite for that reason. It inspired me. It made me say, this is what I want to do. When I was a professional, Les Mis, I did a tour of Les Mis. That was very, very special highlight for me. I also did this project with the Irish Repertory Theater in New York where we did 8 plays and I got to play 7 different characters, and it was an incredible challenge and so much fun. That was one of my favorite things that I ever did as an actor too.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any acting experience? Wise, were you in theater at all growing up?
Oh, me? No. I know. I mean, when I was in New York a long time ago, every year we had a play because we were in a Catholic school, and then we did a nativity play kind of thing. And then I think, it was some. I remember I learned my first vocal warm up. Was "Mommy made me mash my M&Ms." Oh my! Classic stuff. I still remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was a proud theater kid. I was the lead role of my high school production. It was on the Addams Family. But honestly, my kind of origin story of becoming a voice teacher is quite similar to Justin's. We talked about this in our first episode, but I was the lead, and then suddenly COVID hit. So we had to do everything online. Like, can you imagine online acting? Oh my gosh. So, yeah, but I noticed that my fellow cast members could use some vocal coaching. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just living off a few episodes of voice lessons to the world. But a little tip goes a long way. So the music director kind of caught me teaching voice, and she's like, "Wira, can you teach voice?" Like, no, I just saw you did it. It's like, okay, well, we don't have a voice teacher. You're gonna be our voice teacher. So, yeah, I gave voice lessons to all the cast members, and I ended up enjoying that a lot more than the acting. Maybe because it was online, but yeah, that was the birth of the vocal voice teacher, Wira, and I pursued it from there. Yeah.
That's so cool. That's awesome, man. I personally, I was in 2 productions. I was in Legally Blonde back in 2018. I was in an ensemble, and I just was floored because I've never done anything like in that capacity. I've done like small stuff with my teacher in high school, but like never like something like at a community theater with like all these really talented people. And I was like, oh my god, this is so intimidating. They're so good. And I was just an ensemble. I was like, all right, this is great. And then immediately after there was a production of Annie, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to do Annie. Let's go do Annie. And then ensemble again in Annie, and I was like really excited for that. So, but I did improv in high school, and I did those productions of that, and then voice teaching just kind of happened. Like, I saw TikTok one day, and then yeah, Matt Johnson was on TikTok, and he was talking about all this stuff with the voice I've never heard of before, like, you know, registration, the vocal folds, and like mixing, and like all this stuff that I'm like, what is this? I've been singing my entire life. How do I not know what this is? And then that just kind of like got me into studying it, and that's kind of how I got started with it. So cool, awesome. Where are you going? Oh no. Oh, okay, there you are. Great. So now I want to hear that story, that lovely story of the kid at the piano. It's like, hey kid, can you play piano? Can you share that story for everybody at home who hasn't heard that story already? I would love to hear that story again.
Yeah, now that's a good story. That's a story of a New York minute. And so I told you that I grew up playing the piano and performing and things like that. I always said, though, the last thing I would ever do is be a voice teacher. I'm going to go to New York, I'm going to be a singer, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to be a professional. If that doesn't work out for some reason, I'll go back to school, I'll be, I don't know, a doctor, something. But a voice teacher, that's the last thing. Because when you grow up in a small town, you say, well, I'm going to go to New York, be an actor or singer. People say, well, you know, if it doesn't work out, you can always teach, right? And you say, no, no, you don't get it. You don't get it. I'm going to do this thing. I'm not going to have a fallback plan of teaching. That, to me, was the worst disgrace. You know, those who can't do, teach. That's what I had in my mind. So I was in New York City for only 2 weeks. I had just moved, and it was 2 weeks in, and I was at an audition in the waiting room. And an older gentleman comes in the room and he says, does anybody in here play the piano? And I kind of sheepishly raise my hand. He says, you, come out in the hall, I need to talk to you. He says, how well do you play the piano? I say, oh, pretty well. Do you think you can sight read? Yeah, I can sight read. Do you think you play well enough to play an audition? Yeah, I think I could. Gets on his phone. Yeah, I got some kid here. Yeah, the kid says he can do it. No, okay, we'll take the kid. He says, go back in your waiting room, finish up your audition, and then I need you to come down the hall. We need an accompanist now. Our accompanist dropped out on us at the last minute. I said, okay. I go in the waiting room. The monitor says, you know who that is, right? I said, no, I don't know him. He said, that's Barry Moss. He cast The Cosby Show. He cast all these movies. He cast all these Broadway shows. He said, you better be ready. Oh, no. So I finished up my audition. It was a terrible audition. And then I go down to the other audition room where this is being done, and this is for a Broadway show. And I am accompanying, like, Broadway stars, like people that I recognize are walking in the room, and I am their accompanist. And I'm like, I've never been more nervous in my entire life. And for some reason, they were so disorganized this day, not only did their accompanist drop out, but the actors weren't given some of the music that they needed to learn. So I'm on the fly teaching Broadway singers that I recognize their music for this audition in front of this famous casting director. Uh-huh. And I'm so cocky at, 23. At the end of the day, I say to Barry, I'm like, don't pay me. Take 2 headshots and call me when I'm right for something. And Barry sort of laughs and he's like, I'm going to take the headshots. I'm going to pay you. But I saw something in you today, Justin. I saw that you have what it takes to be a great vocal coach in this city. And I thought in my heart, I'm like, oh no. A vocal coach. Oh yeah, right. That's why I slammed. That's the last thing I would do. I always said, no, never that. I had my bartending license. I was going to tend bar and audition and act and perform and all of that. That was the plan. But one of the greatest casting directors in all of New York's history says, you have what it takes to be a great vocal coach in this city. What are you going to do? So I said, okay, I'll take his advice. I'll try it out. And put some flyers out at the different studios and said, I don't know what's going to happen. Within a couple months, I was fully booked. And people just kept coming. And I didn't know that I would be good at it or that I would like it. But I I did. I loved it. And I actually was embarrassed about this at the time, but I loved it more than acting. And I loved it more than singing. And so that is how I became a voice teacher, by total accident, by a sort of New York miracle. And, I've been doing it ever since. This is my 19th year of teaching.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that's the story. Pretty good one.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. So whenever you were starting with the flyers and you were building up all these client lists and everything, how did you come up with the idea of actual New York vocal coaching as like a studio, as like hiring other teachers? How did that kind of start to work?
Also by total accident. I just told you a second ago that I was embarrassed about my love for voice teaching at that time. And I thought, the acting world is going to think he's some voice teacher. I don't want people to know he's just as a voice teacher. I don't want them to know that. So how can I separate my acting life and be in the closet as a voice teacher and still teach voice? I came up with the most generic possible name that I could ever think of, New York Vocal Coaching, and it was like on the sly, so that I could be Justin Stoney, actor. You'll never know that I'm a voice teacher. And if you find New York Vocal Coaching, it's so generic. You're like, oh, okay, well, it's just New York Vocal Coaching. It's who is this? It's nameless. It's faceless. So that was why I named. It wasn't supposed to be a company. I just named my studio New York Vocal Coaching so that I wouldn't be, found out by the acting world. And so I taught and taught and taught and grew and grew and grew. I never thought in a million years I'd have another voice teacher working with me. Like, that was another thing that was just like, no, I'm good. I'm teaching voice. I love that. That's it. But I got so booked, I had overflow. I was going to have to start turning people away. And sure enough, people just started coming. And they said, Justin, I like what you do. I like your mission. I like what you're all about. Can I be a part of this somehow? Literally, my first associate said, I'll do anything. I'll answer emails. I'll do your laundry. I said, no. But why not we try having you do a little teaching? And it just grew and grew, and now we have like 30, or I don't even know how many people work for us now, 35, something like that. But I never planned on having even one other person working for me. And I've just let it be organic, The students come, I want to serve students and singers. I'll serve 3 if I have 3. I'll serve 3,000 if I have 3,000. It's never been about growing. It's always been about shepherding what's given to me. And I've always been surprised.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now look what you got this amazing studio. You got students from all over the world. You got YouTube channels, you've got online courses, you've got all this amazing cool stuff, and you're serving students every single day, and people, including myself and me and Wira and Wise, all really, really appreciate what you do for singers and voice teachers everywhere. So,
well, thanks, guys, and likewise, because I know you all have a heart for service, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. We were Wise
fighting this cold together, Justin.
Oh yes, I just have allergies this time of year.
Yep, me too. Oh boy.
Wise, you want to add anything?
No, I mean, you've been an inspiration to me and all of the people here, it's Mel and Wira, and now I think Wira is going through the teacher training as well, and Mel and I are kind of the benefactors, not benefactors, the opposite of beneficiaries, the beneficiaries of that. Sorry, the other way around. My English died for a while. But yeah, so I don't know, maybe my question is, how did you think of doing this voice teacher training? I'm sure it's connected to what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, so you're going to notice a theme here: accidental and organic, nothing planned. So I always had this heart for serving, and being 23, and suddenly people are coming and coming and coming to your studio and asking for vocal tips and asking for lessons and things like that. People are always talking about imposter syndrome, right? And they're talking about it as a bad thing, and oh no, I have imposter syndrome. Let me encourage people here today. You can build a massive career on imposter syndrome. You can really rock with imposter syndrome. Because when you're, say, 23 and you've been placed in the heart of New York City and you got people coming to you from all over the place, I was thinking to myself, why are they coming? Why do these people keep coming to me? Like, what the heck do I know? Why are they trusting me? And I said, I know what I'll do. I will find the answer to every vocal question ever asked of me. And if they ask me something that I don't know, if there's something I don't know, I'm going to find it. I'm going to find the book. I'm going to find the research. I'm going to find the teacher. I'm going to find the course. I'm going to find the answer to any single question, so that I can't be this young guy sitting behind the piano and people say, who the heck is he to be teaching? So I hunted, and this journey continues to this very day, for all the data I could find. And I thought to myself, I'll write a book. And I sat at pubs. Oh, well, it's actually not Sing Like Never Before. Interestingly enough, it's not Sing Like Never Before.
Oh.
I sat at pubs, the local pubs here, St. James Gate, Dead Poet, George Keeley's. I would go to the pub till 1:32 a.m. At night after night, just writing, organizing, compiling information that I had learned, and I was going to create a comprehensive guide to the voice. I got about 80% through the organization of that process when I realized that the people around me were going to need it taught by me and not written down. Because I needed to train people. I had people saying, I want to work with you. I want to come alongside you. I want to be a part of this thing. And I said, well, that's great, but you're going to need to learn a few things. And here are those things. So what I'm saying is, I meant to be writing a book, but I actually created the resources to train voice teachers in that time. And so I never finished that book. It became the voice teacher training course. And I didn't mean for it to be a big course. I meant for it to be so that I could mentor the people who were coming alongside me. And it grew out of that. So I, again, found myself doing something that I didn't mean to do and creating something that I didn't mean to create.
Wow. That's definitely a theme here. Accidents. Happy accidents.
Yeah, that is.
Oh, I do have a question on that though.
Yeah.
Because, well, my mother shares your view somewhat in that there's a flow that we all go through. God has a plan for us. We don't have to force everything. But then there's my dad who says, no, I think everyone needs to have an ambition in life, and they got to fight for it, create all these plans and stick to it. And if things don't go out well, then you got to, suck it in and try again. Yeah. So, yeah, like, how is that? What do you think of those things?
Well, I hope to create great harmony in your household there, Wira, because here's what I would say to that. They can both be true simultaneously. God, in my view, must give you that kind of ambition, that kind of passion, that kind of focus. For me, I give credit to God for every single thing that I do. I would be nowhere without God. And so I see and have vast evidence for what your mother is saying, that these things have just been orchestrated and dropped in my lap with coincidence after coincidence and moment after moment that you couldn't ever try for, you couldn't ever strive for, that's just there, and following that flow of the divine. But then, do you just kick back and let God do it all? Well, no, because God is the one that gives you those intelligence, gives you that intelligence, gives you those smarts, gives you that focus, gives you that passion, that ambition, all of those things. To whom much is given, much is required. And so when God sets things up for you and God gives you gifts and God opens up doors for you, you got to boldly walk through it with what God gave you. And so it actually, those two things go hand in hand. They're just two sides of the same coin.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
The wisdom
No,
of Justin Stoney.
Well, I would like to unpack that a little further, because I'd like to us to imagine either scenario I'd like us to imagine just Wira's mom's perspective and its consequences, and just Wira's dad's perspective and its consequences, if you did not marry the two, as it were. If you're just sitting around waiting for, mystical things to happen, you might be sitting around disappointed, right? But on the other hand, if you think it all depends on you, and you strive, labor, work, you just drive yourself right into the ground, and you are also very, very disappointed. There must be a balance of those two things, or else you really can't live harmoniously in any field, in any part of one's life,
That's a very, very valid point, for sure. Yeah. You gotta have the ambition, you gotta have that, but you also have to have some kind of, reason and drive to keep moving forward. I don't know. I'm agnostic. I'm not really like a Christian. Like, I believe that there's something out there. I don't believe we all just poofed into stardust or anything. That's not my that's not my belief. But I'm not really sure what it is. I don't really have like a name for it. But I do know that when I was in high school, we had in 10th grade, we were in a theater setting, and we were going to perform this little skit from Finding Nemo for these kids, like these like second grader little kids. And I remember watching them walk through the door, and then just this thought, yeah, don't know where it came from, but maybe it was God, I don't know. It was like, hey, it'd be kind of cool if you could like teach them. Hello? And I don't know, that's kind of where my teaching aspect came from, because I tried to become an English teacher for the longest time. That was my primary goal before I started teaching voice. Was like, I'm an English teacher. I love poetry, I love writing, I love literature, I love all that good stuff. But then, like, as I got into college and I started like taking all these like composition courses and everything, I'm like, I don't want to have to write things. I don't want to have to force people to do this if they don't want to do that as a teaching thing. So then I got into, again, improv with my theater teacher. I started teaching improv, not as like a job, but for fun, like as a volunteer thing. And then I got into the door with actually doing it as a job now. Like, that's part of my job. I get to go teach kids improv, and it's the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, what? So now I'm just trying to get more kids into my voice studio as well. I hope that's going to be a consequence of teaching kids improv and working with her this summer for these musical theater camps that she has. I'm hoping that that's going to be something I can kind of pull more students in the door for younger ages as well, because right now I'm just teaching adults. So kind of hoping that's what's happening. Kind of cool how that works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The seeds were planted many years ago, and now they are blossoming.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess another question I have then, you mentioned that you were going to write a book, but you ended up not writing that book. Did the ideas from that book you were going to write eventually become Same With Her Before, or did you start from scratch and start all over again? How did that process work and start?
It's a great question. I did start all over. I mean, obviously, the information is the information, so I knew the information. But my big beef with vocal books is how dry they are. Yes, thank you for the slam. I don't have to do work today. Well, maybe I will anyway. There we go. Okay. They are. And so in all that time, compiling and researching and making sure that my imposter syndrome didn't get the better of me and I knew my stuff, I had to read these books, and I did. I read every single darn one of them, and it was painful. And I still read them, and it's still painful. And I said, okay, that old idea that I had of writing another painful book, that became the teacher training. Let me write a not painful vocal book. Can we please have a book truly about pedagogy and technique and science and anatomy and all that stuff? Can we truly have a book like this that is funny, that is entertaining, that is colorful, that is attractive, that I could put down and pick up really fast, but I don't want to put it down because it holds me? I want that book. That book isn't out there. I want that book. And that's the book that I wrote, I hope I wrote, with Sing Like Never Before. That's the intention of it, is to make those dry ideas something that I hope anybody could understand. The pictures in the book are something that a 4-year-old could say, look at these fun pictures. The tips in the book, I think, are simple for a beginning singer to say, I could try that, that could help me. And then the pedagogy of the book is something that an advanced voice teacher or, vocal professional would say, this is the real deal. That's the idea of the book. And it took me 7 years. And, I won't be doing that again. There will not be a sequel.
What was that process look like? How did you get in touch with the illustrator? How did you start to actually what was it all handwritten at first, and you kind of worked in how did that process work, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask. How did that actually formulate?
Yeah, no, I always had a vision for that, because since the goal of the book was to make it fun and attractive and visually appealing, I knew from the beginning I'm going to have an artist to work with me on this. And I don't know how exciting of a story this is, but a friend came to town. We went out to the Dead Poet. He brought another friend along, and we were having Guinness, and we were chatting, and the friend said, I'm a cartoon illustrator. I do comic books. And I said, oh, really? Let me see your work. And it was awesome. And I said, I'm working on a book. I have this idea for a book. Would you want to join forces? And we did, and he was awesome. And Mark Pate is his name. So if you have Sing Like Never Before, my book, so much of it is due to his illustration. I mean, every single page is colorful illustrations done by Mark Pate. So he's equal in the importance of the book's success.
Yeah, it's very, very physically, and I guess the words are really, it's funny. It's a funny book for sure. The pictures are awesome. Very well done. I read it back the first time back in, I think it was March of last year, so it's been over a year now since I got the book. I told you this story, but I've marked the pages with little tabs for easy access.
That's great.
So I can find things in a pinch, but it's a really good book. It's fantastic. I actually got my dad the book for his birthday.
Oh, wow.
So he has it now too. I'm like, hey, go read the book. He's like, I will. But yeah, it's a fantastic book, and it's very encouraging. I really love chapter 10. I love chapter 10. It's a lot more on the inspirational and my book is full. Okay, inspirational side than anything else, and it's really, really sweet to have that kind of chapter, because you didn't really have to include that, but you did, and it was really, really nice for you to have that at the end. So thank you for including that as well. That was very, very, very
You're
meaningful.
welcome. I was just saying I did have to include chapter 10 because we've gotten into some spiritual and or inspirational kinds of talks today, but what is really important to know about me is I could leave the world of voice if I were asked to. It's not singing itself that I'm truly about, it's what singing does for people. Singing has this power to transform and to uplift and encourage and instill joy. It has this power. And as voice teachers, we have the ability to shepherd that power in other people. And I don't see myself as, the smartest voice teacher or the best pedagogue or the best singer or the best teacher. I don't really identify with great voice teacher. I identify with somebody who has been asked to transform lives with the vehicle of singing. And so chapter 10 is what I'm about. Like chapter 1, breathing. I'm not really about that at the end of the day. Chapter 2, larynx. I'm not really about that at the end of the day. The science, the pedagogy, the research, the teaching, it's all great stuff. But for me, what it really is about is chapter 10. And that's why I say I could leave the voice. Because if God had asked me, if God had not dropped me in the middle of a audition room and said, hey, I think you'd make a great vocal coach, he could have dropped me somewhere else and said, hey, you can transform lives by doing blank, XYZ, right? And so I'm just saying, for me, what I'm all about is the opportunity in life to help others and inspire others. And it just happens to be singing. I just happen to be asked to do it through singing. But like, if it were just the technique, if it were just the vocal stuff, I don't think I would love it the way that I do. It's what singing can do for us and not singing itself that is powerful to me. So that's why I had to write chapter 10.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Wise asks what's in chapter 10 because I guess he doesn't have the book.
I may be exposing myself here, but yeah.
What's in chapter 10? Well, I have my copy right here. I mean, like, let's see here. You have things about being too old to sing and people's issues with that, whether they're 13 years old or 65. Everybody thinks, I don't know if this is the right age to sing, about whether or not one can train their voice. Should they just not quit their day job? Or, singing as a source of joy, as a source of passion, being a friend to your voice and having your voice be a friend to you, having truly a relationship with your voice, healing from vocal trauma and wounds and scars from things that people have said about you in your past, overcoming perfectionism and our temptations to be perfectionists, seeing singing as a gift, overcoming the need to make it as a singer and to have a different relationship, seeing voice as a journey and seeing voice as a source of joy. These are the kinds of topics that chapter 10 talks about. Things that all of us as singers experience and wrestle with that don't have anything to do with what's my larynx position or what register should I choose or how do I maximize my first foreman. Stuff that we deal with as humans.
I think you mentioned this story before when you were talking about the vocal trauma. I remember you were talking about the singer whose teacher or someone said that they were lemony. Could you repeat that story again? I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah, it's a very funny story. So yeah, that counts in the category of vocal baggage, past vocal wounds, vocal scars, And we all have it. So anybody listening today, think about it for a second. It won't take you long. What did they say? What was it? What did they say to you? Was it the choir director? Was it a voice teacher? Was it a parent? Was it a competitor? Somebody said something to you about your voice, and man, did it hurt. And it still hurts you even to this day. And we can overcome that, which is very positive. But one of the funniest ones that I ever heard, or weirdest, was I had a voice teacher training graduate, and we had a lesson, and she said, Justin, I'm still wrestling with this. I had a teacher in college, and she told me that my E vowel was lemony. I have a lemony E. Justin, do you think my E vowel is lemony? And what the heck does that even mean? You have a lemony E vowel. And so, you know, this wound stuck with her. She was very self-conscious about her E vowel. And so one of the strategies, though, for overcoming those vocal scars is to acknowledge that it hurt, acknowledge what it was, and then we don't dwell on it. And I tried to encourage her. When we did a E vowel, that's a beautiful E. That's so free when you do that. Sounds so rich, so warm. I love that sound. And we overcome it that way by speaking positive words into that area. But yeah, that's just a very bizarre comment, but it stuck with her. And the little paper cuts that we get from people, they can really last.
Jumping off that topic a little bit, is there anything that somebody has said to you when you were first starting out in your teaching journey, like a mentor, a coach, a friend, a person in your family, that even a student that has kind of like stuck with you in a meaningful way and that has kept coming back to you and helping you stay motivated to what you're doing? Anything specific anyone has said to you in your journey?
I would just say that all of my mentors saw in me what I am today, and I did not see that for myself. And I only know that retrospectively. Like at the time, you know, being in high school and having my teachers say, you know, you're going to want to teach someday. And you know, or, you know, one of my instructors in New York saying, you know, I think you should be the head of a university vocal program, which I did not want. But like saying that kind of stuff to me, like they always believed that I would do this and be great at this when I was saying that's the last thing I would want to do. But they, you know, each and every mentor that I've had, and I'll name some: Richard Fracker, Dr. Richard Fracker, David Jones, Aaron Hagen. Those are my three primary mentors. All three of those guys thought Justin will be a great voice teacher. Justin should, you know, have his own studio or teach in a college. Like, they always saw me as a successful voice teacher when I thought, I don't know if I should be doing this. So it's just the belief, the faith that others have had in me when I didn't have it in myself. That has been the most powerful thing, more than any specific statement that somebody made. It's just that belief.
Yeah, that's wow. I'm so glad you had those kind of people in your life that have been so encouraging to you. That's really fantastic.
Yeah.
I think everybody needs that a little bit, somebody to be that kind of person for them, to encourage them and help them.
Well, and maybe that's why I always say the voice teacher training is my very favorite thing to do, and that's true. I love the voice teacher training. I love training voice teachers even more than training singers, and I think that's the big reason why. is because I had so many people that helped me to be successful and believed in me and paved that path. Now to get to train voice teachers to help other people do that is very, very special. To believe in others the way that people believed in me, to pave their path the way that mine was paved. That's an awesome thing.
Yeah. Wise and Weird, do you have anything that maybe someone has done for you to help you out with your teaching stuff? Anything that someone has said to you? Anything that stuck with you?
Journey was a bit strange, where I kind of went the other way around into the voice teacher training course. So I started out basically, well, it was also by happenstance. My brother was like, hey, here's this book, Practical Vocal Acoustics. It's pretty cool. It's the Bible of voice teaching and stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. Read it, didn't understand a thing. So then years later, I'd like, gone into some tangent about, barbershop singing overtones and all that. And the harmonic series, and eventually you have enough info to actually read the book, and I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to get it. Kind of makes sense now. And then I was like, okay, it still doesn't really make sense yet. Then I listened to it, Ken Boseman, the author's YouTube video. I was like, okay, now it makes sense with audio examples. It doesn't make any sense when you just read the book, because it's singing, And then eventually I just came across different people. You eventually get into the voice science YouTube rabbit hole, and then all the books and stuff. And then I was like trying to apply it, and it was with mixed results. And then I was like, okay, well, I've eventually exhausted. I read about anatomy, I read about formants, I read about breathing, I read about this and that. I was like, all right, so okay, now what? And so eventually I came across some people who I didn't know were NYVC taught before, and then it was interesting actually. I realized someone sent me a video by, I think, Mel, your coach, Matt Johnson. Like, someone sent me Matt Johnson's videos on TikTok, and I think I don't recall why I was watching TikTok. I think it was because she sent me those videos, and I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, these are pretty accurate. There's some things I'm not so sure about, but yeah, these sound legit. And then later on, I was watching some other videos by some distortion coaches, and I was like, oh wait, then I looked at the website and I was like, oh, what's this NYVC teacher training certified thing? What's that? That's so strange. And I was like, well, she seems like she knows what she's talking about. So then this was, as a shout out, this was Aliki Katriu's stuff. I do want to book a lesson with her one day, but I saw this, I was like, whoa, this is pretty cool. And so eventually I just looked into it, and I don't know whether it was NYVC, one of those promotions at the end or something. They said, for voice teacher training, visit voiceteachertraining.com or something like that. I don't remember how I got there, but then I saw, okay, there's this voice teacher training thing, and I had been watching a few of Justin's videos, and I think the stuff on compression was a game changer for me, because I was able to use it on people who, like, it was really simple to apply, but it was so helpful. And I was like, okay, cool. Why not? Now I've got all this knowledge, and it's really hard to teach people without throwing the whole science textbook at them. So let's see what I can do. Took the course, and I think, what was it? I don't remember the first or second one of the first few weeks. I think one of the inspirational things that Justin said to me that stuck with me actually was, I think you already know enough to be a good voice teacher. You don't need any more. If you get any more, it's like for fun. You can learn it. It's all good, but there's a certain threshold after which just go teach. And then you can only get better by teaching and teaching. And I don't remember, it was after that, it was shortly before that, I started teaching free voice lessons for a while I was doing the course, and it was really great. And I met people who had that kind of voice trauma as well, who were saying, oh yeah, my teacher said that you're horrible. And these people, they heard these things 20 years ago, and it's still stuck with them. And they were like, finally, all right, I decided I'm gonna try to get good at this thing. I'm gonna try singing. And it's, these things hurt even if they're really vague, like Lemony. I remember one of our fellow teacher training people was, it's quite funny, because he said that, yeah, in response to the Lemony story, someone told me once that my voice was creamy. And I think Justin was like, wait, that sounds like a compliment. Hold on a second. But because these things are so vague, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of ill that I want to avoid with my voice teaching, and I think that Justin really helps with, which is that you don't want to be teaching in vagaries because you don't know how people will take it. You know, it can be great, it can be maybe for some people it can help, but you're kind of throwing darts at a board and hoping something sticks, or throwing toilet paper at the wall. I don't know. It's more apt. Yeah, so that was something that inspired me, and I just kept going, and I kind of with that I know I can do it. It's just doing it. So
I
yeah.
love how voice teaching is like a therapy almost. You just can't separate it. It's like life coaching.
Yeah, you said
All
it.
in one.
You said it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Matt is the first person who actually got me interested in the world of singing, the world of voice, the world of teaching in the first place. And then when I started taking the teacher training, a couple things that stuck out to me in the book was Dare to Be a Mess, which is actually, I got that. I don't know if I ever showed you that one. I actually did get that
I
one.
don't remember that one.
Yeah, I had that one for about 6 months now. I've had that one for a while. And then the other one was True Strength Comes From Within. Those are the vocal cords. Those are a couple things that stuck with me. And then, of course, Make a Joyful Noise. That's the newest one. I showed that one to you, too. But those are just a few phrases that have stuck with me. Okay, y'all don't laugh at me.
I'm very nervous to continue to work with you because I worry that your entire body is going to be one giant tattoo of vocal quotes. We're going down a dangerous path here.
I mean, okay, but seriously though, my left arm is stay strong, depression, anxiety, breathe, anxiety, PMA, positive mental attitude. These are all things that have stuck with me as well. So it's not just the singing stuff. The singing stuff is definitely more recent, but I feel like I have a lot of stories for my tattoos and a reasoning for my tattoos. That's my daughter's footprint right there. That's her birthday. Like, these are things that have really just stuck with me. So, and I promise I'm not going to become tattoo man with with pedagogy.
I'm just playing with you. They're very special, and that says a lot about you. That these vocal topics and inspirational topics mean so much to you that you put it on your body to never forget it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
I have another life question, if we can come back to that.
Sure.
Justin, I read from an old article a long time ago that you actually were about to dive into the world of chemical engineering. Is that true?
Yes.
Well,
true.
You saved yourself. I'm walking that path, and the torturous path. I'm so glad that you saved yourself out of there. And the worst part is I found that my passion for voice teaching during that process, which I'm still undergoing, I just finished my second year. What advice do you have for aspiring singers or performers or voice teachers who come from more traditional backgrounds and, have pursued that safe route? And I'm sure Wise is also a software engineer.
Yeah, I used to be a lawyer, so yeah. And now I'm also a software consultant and developer, things like that. I do less coding now, but so software stuff,
Yeah.
IT.
I have lots of friends. I'm in Malaysia, very traditional, super talented singers, and they'd be taking computer science. And I'm like, oh boy, it's kind of, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
My thought is that you in life absolutely must go after what you feel meant to do, called to do, drawn to do. It doesn't mean that it will work out exactly like you planned it. In fact, it definitely will not work out exactly like you planned it. But in my experience, with my own story and with the many, many people I've worked with, nobody ever regrets it going after what they feel called, led, and meant to do. They never regret it. Because either they end up doing something that is close to what they thought, it's never exact, but close to what they thought, or the boldness of following what was in their heart led them to something even better than they thought. The only time I hear people regret things is when they didn't go after what they felt led, meant, and called to do. So I look at it as an essential, as something to not compromise on. You absolutely must go after those things. And it doesn't mean to be unwise or unpractical. I mean, for example, one could get their chemical engineering degree or their legal degree and still go after their singing with full passion. I know lots of people like that. We're not saying that you can't have them both simultaneously. But what I'm saying is to ignore what is in your heart is always a mistake. And to pursue it is always going to lead to a positive for you.
Your parents, did you have to talk through your parents about, like, I want to do this, please? Because I tried that, didn't work. Oh. There it is.
Yeah, I mean, parents are a big influence in our lives, and we want to respect them, you know. But ultimately, you have to make choices that are best for your life.
Yeah. So I actually have to run in a couple minutes, but I just wanted to wrap up with another, I guess, one more question for you before we head out. And that is, there are a lot of teachers, you mentioned this earlier, imposter syndrome is a huge thing. Sometimes it can be a driving force, and then sometimes it can be a kind of like a difficult thing to have to go through as a teacher, as a singer in general. So I guess what kind of advice would you have for somebody who's really struggling with imposter syndrome in their career or in their singing or in their voice teaching or really any aspect of their lives? What kind of advice would you give somebody who might be going through something like that?
First step is to not look at it as a negative thing. Because like I said, imposter syndrome can drive you to success. If you realize that just about everybody has imposter syndrome and that it's a normal thing in life and you're not alone. If we're all just a bunch of imposters, then none of us can be imposters at all. And then we use it for a positive. Okay, why do I feel like an imposter? Is it because I need to study more? Is it because I need to pursue this more? Is it because I need to practice more? And you can let those things drive you and fuel you. As long as you don't continue to think, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm not enough because I have imposter syndrome, you'll be in good shape with it. You can say, it is natural for human beings to have imposter syndrome. So let me go and make myself as excellent as I can be at what I do. And then you got a little extra fuel.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You know, it's a real pleasure, you guys. So thank you for asking me to be on your podcast, and you know, just wishing you much continued success with your singing and teaching. And I know you're serving, and that's an awesome thing. And to the listeners out there, keep singing, keep teaching, whatever it is that you do, and we're all in this together. So, you know, thanks for the community.
Thank you very much.
Get well soon and sleep well.
You too.
Thanks. Yep, full-time engineering internship.
There you go. Boy. Okay. Well.
And VTT. I'm gonna.
Oh, awesome. You can do it. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
God bless.